It is just a huge honor to be podcast interviewing my long-term buddy, Vijay Sikka from SikkaSoftware.com. I think we met at Townie meeting like 15 years ago in Las Vegas.
Right.
Wasn't it? I don't think I had hair back then, but it was a long time ago. Vijay Sikka is the president and chief executive officer of the 12-year-old Sikka Software Corporation. Under Vijay's leadership, Sikka Software Corporation has become the premier cloud-based business analytics and optimization platform company and a SaaS-based market leader for dental industry and growing presence in veterinary, optometry, and audiology industries in the United States. Sikka Software Corporation has 20,900 installations. That's amazing, Vijay. And is experiencing strong growth and will be looking for investments to fund that growth. In fact, you're sitting in Silicon Valley right now, right? San
That's
Jose?
right. Yeah, across from San Jose International Airport.
Right on. Vijay is a healthcare informatics expert with more than 25 years of software development and quality experience, including large-scale projects with National Institute of Health, GlaxoSmithKline, Roche, UCSF affiliates. In 1996, Vijay founded iBrain Software, Inc., a business intelligence company that competed with Business Objects, Congos, etc., and served as iBrain CEO until its acquisition in 1998 by Indigen Corporation that later became part of Roche. In 1999, he co-founded Boda.com, which later was acquired by Peregrine. Vijay's book, Maximizing Return on Investment in Software Development, was published in 2004 by Taylor and Francis International and is available for purchase from Amazon and other bookstores in hard copy and for ebook readers. Vijay is a speaker and a continuing education registered provider in California. Vijay, I love what you're doing. I'm a huge fan of yours because here's how I see the number one problem in dentistry is, guys like me, I've had my dental office here in Phoenix for 29 years. And back then you just submitted your fees to the insurance and they paid 1%. And then over the 3 decades it switched to, I'm not going to submit my fees and they pay 1%. They're sending me the fees, a PPO, preferred provider. I used to charge $1,000 for a molar root canal when I got out of school. 30 years later, I'm getting paid $600 for a molar root canal. And so in the meantime, every time the earth went around the sun, you gave all your staff $1 raise. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, the PPOs lowered the fees 40%. And now these dentists, you say, hey, you want to spend 5% on advertising to get fee-for-service cash patients? And they say, no, I don't want to do that. And then someone will send them a contract and say, hey, you want to sign up for this PPO where your fees are 40% less? They say, sure. And they don't know the cost. So they sign up for these PPOs, and dental practice management software like Dentrix and EagleSoft and Open Dental, they're not connected to accounting. So when you're paying your rent, mortgage, bills, payroll, etc., and then your scheduler is telling you, okay, you just signed up for a PPO that's going to pay you $100 for a filling, but your schedule says you take an hour to do that filling, and that room costs $150. So every time you do a filling, you're going to take $50 and shred it. And then the accounting industry is even worse because they just show revenue. So the dentist thinks his number one expense is labor, 28%, but his number one expense is adjusted production on these PPO schedules, which can be, I think, 25% for the entire industry, but most offices it's about 40%. So they'll say, yeah, my number one cost is labor, 25%. It's like, dude, your number one cost is a 40% adjusted production on your PPO fee schedule. And Dentrix and Shine and Open Dental, they show zero interest in connecting this up to the obvious, which would be Quicken, QuickBooks Pro. And if anybody could take all that data together and educate the dentist of where he's making money or losing money, dude, it's you. You're the man. You're either going to save this industry. I don't know who's going to do it. I don't know who else is positioned to do it because I don't think anyone else cares, and I know you're passionate about it.
Yes. Howard, you and I, well, in a way, you have been my inspiration. I will share this with you. You are one reason why I started Sikka Software. And I read some of your magazines, Dental Town, which, 13, 14 years ago was still a huge force in the country, and continues to be an amazing, community of people who come together and help. And the thing that I learned from you, there was an article that you wrote which said, hey, if you can manage it, you have to first make sure that if you can, if you know the numbers, then you can manage it. And it's all about knowing the score. And I don't know if you remember that, but that was the reason why I got into this. And so what's interesting is my wife is a dentist, right? And she has practiced in San Jose for 25 years now. And I saw her struggle with fee schedules, with Delta and other fee schedules. Back then, like you said, there was a very interesting way that if you did some procedures more and some procedures less, you could adjust them. But I saw her struggle with fee schedules, and I asked her, how are you going to set your fees? And the answer she gave me was shocking. She said, I'm going to figure out what other people are charging around me and just try to set my fees that way. But that's not how you set your fees. I said, you need to figure out what your profitability is, what your costs are, and what your patients are willing to pay. And that is really the genesis of Sikka Software. And the first prototype I built was Fee Optimizer. And you remember seeing that.
Absolutely.
I actually came to your office,
Yep.
And Fee Optimizer transformed the way we look at the business side of dentistry, because the algorithms that we use inside it are ones which really big companies use, insurance companies use in making sure that your profitability is aligned with how you practice. And that's today we have 42,000 zip codes data. Of course, it's roll-ups and summaries and percentiles data, but we have the richest database of procedure code and fee schedules in the country. And we continue to do what we were doing back then. Of course, we have become bigger. I was helping one dentist. Now we have 20,900 installations. And but you have been my inspiration. And thanks for doing what you do, bringing business awareness to the dental industry.
Well, hey, you're too kind. So how can a dentist who is using, to call it practice management software, it'd be like calling me a Chippendale. I mean, I don't know what the hell it manages. But let's say you have Dentrix. That's the market leader. What do you say, about 40% of the dentists have that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere around
So
35.
let's say you have Dentrix, and then let's say, what do you think the number one accounting software? Just Quicken?
QuickBooks. Yeah.
QuickBooks. Okay, so that's a schizophrenic system that's not connected. So you
Yeah.
have all your scheduling, insurance, billing on Dentrix, and you have all your accounting on Quicken. And how you're talking to thousands of dentists right now. They're commuting to work. They're driving down the highway. How do they get the data from Quicken and the data to Dentrix to make sense? Because Vijay, I'll tell you this. In 2016, I still have not ever walked into a dental office, and I was in one yesterday, and said, your hygienist just did a cleaning exam and bite wings. Did you make $9.07 or did you lose $8? And they just look at you like, how the hell would I know? And Vijay, it's worse in hospitals.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hard on my homies because I'm a dentist. I can be hard on dentists. But dentists and vets and chiropractors, they're 10 times more sophisticated than any hospital in America. Those guys are they have no idea what's going on.
No, you're absolutely right. So I'll share on the specific case that you mentioned. For example, between 2015 and 2016, we have seen the average dollar value that a practice spends on a patient in a year has jumped up by $36. It has gone from $215 to 200 and something close to $51. And that is a very significant jump compared to previous years. Previous years, it used to be $3, $5 jump, increase. Actually, 2013 saw a decrease from 2012. So when you look at that, the being aware of how much is it costing you to do the procedures that you're doing and how much money you're making or losing on each procedure is one of the most important things. So we built this.
But what was that? What was that number? What was the 215 to 251?
Yeah. So I'll give you the exact. Actually, I'll make sure that I get a slide to you, because we have been now tracking this data for almost close to 20,000 practices.
Are you talking about the cost of the dental office or the production generated?
Per patient.
Cost
per patient cost over a year
overhead
for the practice, right? So if you take all the data coming from QuickBooks, where the costs are being included, then you take the patients, and you figure out how much does it cost a practice to take care of a patient, an active patient, a patient who is likely to visit the practice. That number has jumped up to close to $251 in 2016, and that number has seen a jump from the previous year by close to $36, which is very significant. That's almost 12 to 14% increase from the previous year. It used to be just $3 to $5 in the past, and it used to actually be, in some years it went down. For example, from 2012 to 13, it went from $215 to $214.
And
So
Vijay,
that's an
this,
example.
this this also really changed this. I don't want to get into politics, but it really changed that last election because Obama did something very noble, but like getting rid of pre-existing conditions, so millions of sick people could get insurance, but they never focused on cost.
Mhm.
And when everybody's premium went up, they were 25%. They were livid. And that's
Yep.
what healthcare and government both do wrong. They always have great grand ideas,
Right.
but they never keep an eye on cost. How do you make this lower cost, faster, cheaper, affordable?
And we have stayed, like you said, we have stayed at the forefront of innovation. We have actually back then the fee optimizer, and still is, the only demonstrably theoretical and provably practical way to optimize your fees and align them with how you practice. And we have continued that innovation. We are seeing, Howard, you and I are seeing a sea change in the way millennials are taking over, right? The entire industry is transforming from baby boomers into millennials. The treatment plans that we are seeing that each dental practice has are now higher with millennials than they were with baby boomers. We are seeing a growth in numbers of millennials, close to 92 million, which is again higher than where the baby boomers were. So the economy is starting to shift. And as a dental practice, when 13 years ago, when I started my software company, the question was, will the dentist have a high-speed internet in their office? Now the question is, how do you connect with this completely new demographic which is coming? And this demographic cares more about getting information in a different manner. They, for example, don't buy things like traditional traditional patients did, baby boomers and Generation Xers. And there is an entire thing that I would love to talk to you more about this, how they consume video, how they consume mobile, and how we are seeing a big shift in data, cloud, and mobile, and how those three things are kind of coming together. And, I'm not talking about science fiction. I'm not talking about Silicon Valley stuff. I'm just talking about how the main street, the composition of patients that are coming into practices are changing. And so all of that feeds into this entire discussion that we were having about cost and how, what does it cost for a practice to get a patient and treat a patient?
So what's got you excited now?
Well, good stuff. I actually wanted to build on something that we did before. So, we built a platform which can connect with 96% of practice management systems in the United States, also in UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. And this is, we work with all practice management systems, whether it's the big popular ones, Dentrix and SoftDent and EagleSoft and Open Dental, Easy Dental, Mogo, you name it. And we also work with really obscure ones. And so we built this platform, which takes about 5 minutes, installs automatically, and then it brings the HIPAA high-tech compliant secure, data up into the cloud, where then we open an API layer, which lets anyone build apps on it. And we now have 40 apps built by so many different partners. 16 of them are Fortune 500 companies. And what we have continued to do is to continue to build the practice optimizer, which you mentioned combines data from practice management system and financial system, gives you dashboards and business intelligence. But we also built an absolutely free app called Practice Mobilizer. And that's a mobile only app. And that's one thing that I wanted to show you. And we also, being in Silicon Valley, you and I now see how software is eating the world, right? We see how, this whole thing about self-driving cars, the, reusable rockets, they're all being initiated not by traditional Detroit auto manufacturers, but by software entrepreneurs, building car companies like the Tesla, right? The electric car company, or the, Blue Origin and those guys which are landing rockets and making them reusable. This whole industry is starting to shift and software is starting to eat the world. And then there's this AI, the artificial intelligence and natural language. And we are talking to our phones like the Siri and others. And it is starting to take off in terms of how artificial intelligence, chatbots, and some of these modern technologies are starting to affect dental industry. So we are sitting right at that point. And I wanted to show you something, the free practice mobilizer.
You got a demo you're going to show me, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I'm most excited about software? You know what really I think is the most romantic about it? Is, there used to be, I think right now there's like 1,400 different spoken languages and dialects on the earth right now. But software, ones and zeros, it's the first time sapient 7.5 billion people are on a common language.
Exactly.
All their language is zeros and ones.
Yes.
And I think that's gonna do more. When you think that in 1880, 80% of the planet could not read or write. And now 2016, 80% of the planet lives in a home or a hut that has a smartphone.
Yeah.
And we're all on a common language of zeros and ones. So I think this next century is going to be our greatest century. It's going to be our finest century.
I absolutely agree, my friend. And it's, so the convergence is happening. We call it the power of three. It's the data, cloud, and mobile. When you look at data, how do you take big data, which lets you understand what a specific doctor needs from the patient demographics perspective, or what a patient needs from a specific procedure code perspective. That's big data. Then there is the cloud, which allows us to not be dependent on premise, right? See, the old way of doing things, you have a big server in your office. Those days are going away. You want to have the least amount of effort on building a computer system in your practice. You want to use the maximum benefit of all these apps that are available to analyze information in your practice and how that affects the profitability and patient care. The third piece is mobile. There is a very interesting statistics I want to share with you. 36% of people, when they wake up, they first look for their mobile phones as compared to 10% who look for their significant other.
Well, that would be me, the 10%. I always wake up and look for my 3 cats.
See?
One's on the bed, one's on the side of the bed, and one's screaming to get out. My job is to guess the questions they're asking, but cloud was getting really super sexy, and dentists didn't want to have all this stuff in the cloud. But I noticed on Dental Town, there's 2 concerns about cloud. One is the CBC files are big. I mean, it was one thing to upload a PA, a bite wing, but now you got this CBCT file. So I want you to ask about what is the reality of uploading a cone beam X-ray as opposed to storing that in your office? And then the number 2 issue is if I'm on the cloud-based system, what % of the time is my internet going to be down and I'm in the dark?
Those are very valid questions. So, frankly, in my opinion, the hybrid systems which use the cloud and which use local storage work equally effectively for extremely large files, like you said. The cone beam files, the big scanner files and uploads. Now, we will see bandwidth continue to improve. We will continue to see growth in the form of information transfer between the cloud and local premise. But when I talk about cloud, I actually don't mean just uploading images and videos to the cloud, although you will see performance levels which are significant. I mean, when we use our mobile phones, you notice how even 4G is starting to allows you to see videos and, an entire video conversation completely secure, HIPAA high-tech compliant, which we have been able to implement. So my thought on this is that if there is a file which is really big, it can be locally accessed. So there are 4 major concerns that were there with the cloud. One was security. We are all using the cloud in extremely secure environments today because, we are doing banking on the cloud. We are doing, we are looking up our insurance information on the cloud. We are doing lots of things on the cloud which we didn't do 5 years ago because there's more trust in how the information now. Does that mean that information is all secure? Well, what we need to keep in mind is that we have to take all precautions to protect information that we are putting up there, and we need to constantly make sure that we use the appropriate, passwords and the method, the procedures that we can protect our information with. But it is more secure when people are using it more. The second part of it, the second benefit from a cloud perspective is if there is a local file which can be accessed, the link can be there and that can be pulled. The third is groups such as Amazon and others, which have built these massive servers which are located everywhere, can give you access even to cached files. So, for example, there are versions available on systems where if it does not work with the connection, if the internet connection is broken, there still is a cache system that you could use. So notice I'm not talking about using practice management systems from the cloud. I am saying what you need to use is ability to have apps. Your practice management system can be anywhere. It can be on the premise, it can be on the cloud. What we do is we layer right on top of a practice management system. We layer right on top of a financial system. So we are able to pull everything together and combine the power of the cloud with the delivery of information that you need. And that's the thing I wanted to show you. So let me, if it is okay.
Well, one last question for your demo.
Yeah.
A lot of dentists are thinking about using a VoIP phone system, a voice over internet protocol, VoIP phone system. And on Dental Town, some of the dentists said, man, this was a lot less expensive than Verizon. It gave me my phone service digitally. I can do all these other things with it. But then other dentists are saying, yeah, but our phones went down for 10 minutes yesterday. What do you think about switching to a internet VoIP phone system?
So I will share this with you. The phone, if you have a local battery backup, the phones will not go down. If they're there, you can still get the connection. If there is if there is a cellular backup connection, so the phones can continue working. They don't have to go down with the power going down. But going back to your question, I absolutely believe in VoIP. My wife converted her phone systems to VoIP. Why? Because you get call parking, call recording, call monitoring. You can track, you can connect your patients. We have this app called Call Optimizer, which actually lights up and tells you who the patient is as they are calling in. And
wow.
And that happens only because of VoIP, right? So we use Ring Central, which is one of the, it's a publicly traded company which provides the voice over IP service. But that, in my opinion, absolutely the way to go. Get into the more modern technology, have a backup system. You can have a cellular connection which will still work and give you the capability to stay, lighted even if there is a power down situation.
Okay, so let's see your presentation.
Sure. So this is Practice Mobilizer, and notice that it is available on both Android and Apple devices. What you see in in my hand here in front of you is the wall, which includes Fee Optimizer, and as we scroll up, this includes a prediction engine. So it includes artificial intelligence, neural networks, chatbots, and I'll give you a quick walkthrough. So in this case, it is telling me that next month I'm going to make $68,000 production. We have found that our predictive modeling is over 93% accurate. In other words, only 7% error. If we scroll up, we can see the accounts receivable in this practice. So this practice has $17,000 which are owed over 90 days. And you can see the ADA BPA card. You can also see some of the patients who you want to be tracking for reputation of your practice. Day closing report, morning report. Now notice this program is completely synchronized with your practice management system. So it knows exactly what's going on inside your practice, and it is completely secure. It's HIPAA high-tech compliant. It uses practice management systems from over 96% of the practices in the United States. So this is compatible with pretty much all of the market. Every major practice management system is interfaced with this program automatically. One of the key features in this program is this schedule card. It actually is able to tell you how far away is your patient from the appointment. So as you can notice, there's a 10 a.m. appointment for this first patient that you see down there, and it is 10:34 a.m. in my watch on the phone, and this patient is still 11 minutes away. So what it is doing is it's giving you an instantaneous ability to plan and manage the workflow in your practice. So if there is a patient who's sitting in the emergency room, that patient can be brought in and your practice can be more productive. There are other capabilities inside this program, and I'm just going to walk you through some of them really quickly. On the bottom is the Reports tab, which lets you see information about your practice in fairly easy to use charts. And this program, Practice Mobilizer, is absolutely free, and it's available to all dentists and veterinarians in the United States. If I click on emergency exams, it'll get me data for emergency exams, and I can see tons of other information such as patients, new patient visits by 2016, by 2015. I can see practice data, collections, gross and net collections, and so on. There is a messaging feature which is unprecedented in the dental industry. For example, my patient can now connect with me through video and text and pictures, and this is HIPAA and high-tech compliant, and that's the reason why I mentioned unprecedented. No one else has this capability. So in this case, this patient is telling me, Alex is telling me that his daughter has a wiggly tooth, and he sends me a picture, and I say, why don't you bring her into the practice tomorrow at 9 a.m., and this is all completely secure and HIPAA high-tech compliant. Notice also that there is an Ideas tab. The Ideas tab is where all of the best-in-class apps are available to your practice, where you can just click, see how useful they are to your practice. And in this case, you can see companies such as TSI, which can help you do better collections, our fee survey, Review Wave, which helps you with reputation of your practice, Call Optimizer. If you're a dentist in California, the California Dental Association, and how they can help you maximize profitability in your practice. 71 pounds, which helps you with refunds on your shipments if they are late. Marketing agencies, labs such as Microdental, and so many other partners who have built apps for this marketplace. And you can visit our marketplace at store.sikkasoft.com, and that's available on the web, and it's also available here in the Ideas. So if I click, for example, on one of these partners, I can click Improve Revenue, and I can get an email of how to sign up with them. Next, I wanted to share with you a couple of other features. For example, the artificial intelligence feature inside this program. And that's available from this on the top. You notice this, there is a microphone, and I'm going to actually start talking to the phone. Show me my production. There's the production by provider, as you can see, and I can see it for 2015, 2014. Show me new patients. Show me production by all providers for 2015. And there it is. Notice how I am able to scroll up or down and see all providers, and it gives me the production by all providers for 2015. Show me collection. There's the gross and net collection. Do you realize what I am doing here? I'm talking to my phone and it's giving me all the information. This information that I just now showed to you will take you 30 minutes to extract from any practice management system by running reports into it. And all of this is possible because we are using the most advanced technology and it's all available for free. Thanks.
That was an amazing 7 minutes, but the last line stunned me. It said, "This is all available for free." I'm like, what?
Yep.
What do you mean
That's
it's
right.
all available for free?
Well, we are making that. Everything that I showed you is absolutely free. And the reason it is free is because we believe that we want to give the basic information level to dentists, to veterinarians. This is also available in the animal health industry for absolutely free. The way we make money, and I want to be very upfront, is remember the ideas, the marketplace that I showed you, where all these other companies were coming together to offer services to the doctors. Notice how connected they were. They were actually those services, the doctor could see what those services could do for them. And then if they pick that, then we would make some money off of what they sold to you.
So, and what website is that at?
So it is, everything is available inside here, but the website is www.practicemobilizer.com, and all of those services are available from right there. And we call it the marketplace.
Is there a link to that off of SikkaSoftware.com?
Yes, you can download the Practice Mobilizer. It's available on app stores, on both Apple and Google, on Google Play, and these are, it's available. You can download it anytime. It walks you through the whole thing. It makes sure that it connects with your practice, and it's all done automatically. And then it brings you everything that I showed you right there in the palm of your hand. That is the key, right? That's what we are doing. We are seeing a shift in millennial-led treatment plans, millennial-led purchases. And millennials consume information in very different ways than baby boomers did. And that's really what this taps into. So this is Practice Mobilizer. And all the services that are available on it are fully integrated. We actually have some of 16 or 17 companies there who are Fortune 500 who have built apps on that platform. And we have seen this has been the fastest growing app that we built, Howard.
Send me the link to Practice Mobilizer. PracticeMobilizer.com.
That's correct. PracticeMobilizer.com.
I'm just curious, what percent of dentists are downloading this on iTunes versus Google Play Store? What?
That is an excellent question. So you're probably going to believe this. 72% of dentists downloading this are from the iOS, from the App Store. And the remaining 28% are on the Google Android, the Play Store. And the thing switches on patients though. So remember, this also has a patient component where the patients can communicate with you in a HIPAA high-tech compliant, secure communication. And it's up to you when you want to respond. It's not like one of those interrupted, that you will be interrupted. There, the thing is exact opposite. There, the number of patients, the percentage of patients on using iPhones is lower. It's closer to around 40%, and 60% are Android Play Store. So
patients are 60% Android,
and
then 40% Apple.
On Apple, right? iOS. And then doctors are 72% on Apple and 28% on Android.
I thought it was amazing, and I never even thought about it. With connected to your patient, knowing how far away they are from their office.
That's right. The workflow. See, you have always talked about workflow efficiencies in the practice. Imagine how frustrated a practice is, where a doctor is, when there is a patient sitting in the emergency, waiting area, and there is another patient who is late. And you're calling them and saying, hey, how far are you? Oh, I'm just by the parking lot. I'm pulling in. But, this will tell you that they are 30 minutes away. And so you can take that patient who is in the waiting room, for treatment.
So you said you're in the store that you have 15 partners?
Correct. So we have 40 apps. 16 of those companies which have built apps are Fortune 500 companies. So many of the big guys have built apps on our platform. and they are all available inside that marketplace that I mentioned.
On Practice Mobilizer? Okay, I'm
PracticeMobilizer.com.
trying to find that. Where are those lists of, Ryan? Where are those lists of
So if you go to Mobilizer.com and then
PracticeMobilizer.com? Yeah.
you see there is a
Oh,
link there
visit
called
the marketplace.
Marketplace. Yes. If you
Okay.
click on it, you will see everything. You will see the dental, veterinary, audiology, optometry, and you will see all the companies which have built apps on it. Now, there are 8 or so which we are currently working on, which are not on that yet. But
Okay, so let's go through some of these. Right now, you have 3M. Like, what's 3M on that app?
so yeah,
What
so
is the advantage
basically
having 3M
it's
on that?
restorative materials. You know how you basically what it does is it connects, restorative material. It's a same with Dentsply. They have a
So
restorative
you could
materials
you
app.
buy your supplies directly from 3M without going through Patterson, Shine,
No,
Burkhardt?
no, 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 no. We are not trying to, we are not trying to bring supplies, but these are the things where what it does is wherever there is a direct thing, you can actually connect with the partner. So, for example, I'll actually pick a couple of apps which you will enjoy looking at. One of them is this thing called TSI, which is a Transworld, which is a collection agency, accounts receivable company. So, if a doctor owes money over, let's say a patient owes money to a doctor over 90 days, there are two options. The doctor has to either call the patient and say, or the office manager calls the patient and says, you owe me money. Well, that doesn't go very well with the patient. The other option is that you just have companies like TSI or others, Tech Collect or others, just get the money on your behalf, and they would, go through the proper process. Well, those apps are now connected seamlessly to the practice so that it pops up and says, here are the 50 patients who owe you money over 90 days. Press this button to send them all. And all of that information, because the plumbing is done by Sikka, this app seamlessly sits on top of it and just does it for you, right? So the doctors see an increase of almost 40% in the accounts that they are waiting to be collected. And when the TSI makes money, then we make money. We get a small portion of that.
My friend owns the Ugly Duckling car lot, and so he's made a fortune. All the people that can't get credit,
Yeah.
he self-finances. All the subprime people that they can't get financing. And I said, well, how do you do it? I mean, what happens if they don't pay their bill? And he goes, I keep a spare key. So when you're behind on your payment, we just send Guido out there, and he finds your apartment complex and just drives the car back. And so labs, labor, so adjusted production is the number one cost. Like say 40% for individual offices, 25% of the whole industry. Number 2 is labor. Number 3 is labs. You have some labs on here. I see you have microdental. You have
DDX, the DDX, which is Henry Schein lab. So
Henry Schein has a lab.
Yeah, there is a DDX initiative which connects labs together and gives them an ability to connect with the doctor's practice. So Howard, as you know, right, you are sitting at the center of this. There is a big shift happening. The old way of making, those taking impressions and then sending basically the model to the lab is all starting to kind of get to the sidelines, and people are now doing these scans. And that's part of the reason why companies like 3M and Invisalign, the Align guys and everybody else has been growing, is because those scans are then uploaded into the cloud, and then the lab picks it up from there and takes care of doing the work and sends you the crown or the implant or whatever. And what these apps do is they connect with the practice. They automatically find out what the patient's schedule is, understand exactly who the patient is, connects it together, and then that way the lab has predictability of when the patient is scheduled to come back so that the crown arrives in time. So that's the app that is being used.
And there was a big earthquake. This was yesterday. This is 11/23, but yesterday Patterson stock went from like 49 to 36 because they didn't meet their earnings. But number 2 is they announced that they're not going to renew their exclusive with Cirac, and I thought that was a smart idea, because when they had an exclusive, they couldn't carry all these other oral scanners and anything in that business. And I think when they dropped their exclusive with ADEC, for the years after, the sales of Patterson selling ADEC continued to increase, even though they no longer had an exclusivity. And I think dropping this exclusivity with Sirona is there's so many oral scanners. And what I like the most about the oral scanning and all that stuff, I'm a dentist like your wife. What I like the most about the oral scanners is not, you probably love all the tech stuff, getting rid of impressions, scanning the internet. That probably is sexy to you. But to me and your wife, what's really cool is when you scan that impression, you see it 40 times bigger.
Right, exactly.
Whereas when you take it with a Impergum or a polyvinyl siloxane, and I'm 54, I got to wear readers, and I'm sitting there with magnification loops, and the impression material is purple, and I just think magnification makes you a better dentist, whether you're wearing loops, whether you're oral scanning, anything, anytime you can get the image 40 times bigger. Sapien, who works with his thumbs, can do better work. So
my wife swears by her loops. She makes sure that she wears them everywhere. You're absolutely right. It's
and the endodontists love the hanging a microscope off the ceiling just to get 8 times bigger is before they obturate. They're always finding it's either a missed canal or one of the canal cells. Hey, I want to ask you a very controversial question. I notice every time you go, they have the American Dental Manufacturers Association. For several years, Amazon's always got 3 people there. And they just had their meeting right up here down the street from Phoenix down here last week, and they Amazon people there. I mean, Amazon has been at these meetings for years now. Do you think they're going to bust a move and one day we'll buy all our supplies on Amazon?
Oh my God, Howard, that is indeed a controversial question, but I'll give you my honest answer. So here's what's happening. I read somewhere that around 25 to 30% of United States commerce is actually going through Amazon right now. It's the US commerce. 25 to 30% of US commerce, and this is based on Department of Commerce numbers. Amazon is running through, even if it is not directly purchased from Amazon. Remember, Amazon is also servicing a vast network of third-party companies which are using Amazon as a backbone to run the commerce. And I'm talking about commerce. I don't mean the data. That's the outsourced, the data, the clouds is another huge thing that Amazon is doing. And this is where my personal opinion is that the specialty, the supplies will continue. There are companies which have built extremely big businesses. For example, there is Cardinal Health in the human medical space, and AmerisourceBergen and McKesson. Same is in the dental space. There is Henry Schein, and there's Patterson, there's Benco, and there are others. I feel that the specialty in the specific segments will continue. Amazon, however, is running a vast amount of trade and commerce through its networks. It might happen that it may not be directly doing it, but it might actually be doing it indirectly.
Last I heard, is this still right? Last I heard, Walmart was number 1, Costco was number 2, Kroger was 3, and Amazon was 4. And Walmart, Costco, and Kroger owns, Fry's in Arizona grocery store. They own Dillon's, and so they're kind of like Heartland. When Heartland buys a dental office, they don't change the name to Heartland. And when Kroger buys the state's number 1 grocery store, they don't change the name. But Walmart, Costco, and Kroger, I mean, they got thousands of boxes all over the United States. And then there's Amazon, which is virtual.
Right. Amazon has thousands of boxes, but they are in distribution centers which are outside places like Reno and others, which nobody sees. And the thing is that it's just incredible in how they are driving the commerce in the United States. And it is not just United States. If you look at other countries, Amazon is becoming number 1, even though there are other well-funded companies, but Amazon is just starting to dominate the entire commerce industry. But what you are referring to is probably a segment which is just a retail specific segment, with more of a retail footprint. Amazon is the number 1, and people are actually wondering if there's any stopping it. It's just going to continue.
But you didn't answer the question. But Schein and Patterson, Benco, Burkhardt, I mean, they have to be paranoid to survive Amazon creeping up behind their back.
I don't think they will be directly replaced. That's my personal view.
Just because of all the equipment? and
Yeah, because
installation.
of all the vertical specific things. But it's possible that Amazon is the one who is carrying all the stuff back and forth and helping the manufacturers sell through it. Those things will happen, but I don't think they will be directly replaced by Amazon. Amazon will continue growing the way it is growing. And if this is one of the things that happens in with the industry that we are in, which kind of is what you see in what I showed you, is there is a tectonic shift, right? Who would have thought that you could have in your palm of your hand something which tells you how late your patient will be? Or you could talk to it and say, hey, what was the production in the year 2015 for all of my providers? Those are the kind of things that we never would have thought we could get from practice management systems easily, right? So what you are seeing is technology being applied, and this applies to Amazon, this applies to software and how software is eating the world. It applies, there are tectonic shifts that happen, and then we forget that there was a previous something that used to be done in a previous way, because we're all doing the new thing.
Okay, I want to ask you some more controversial questions. This is Dentistry Uncensored. These kids listen to this. I don't know how old you are, but I'm 54.
I'm 51, my friend.
You're 51?
Yes.
You made it half a century. Congratulations, Vijay. And you look great, dude. You really look great.
Thank you.
I'm so
You
glad
too.
to see you. But a lot of them, our generation reads books, magazines, and the data I see on television, the only people watching television are 50 and over, and the millennials, they just screen
Video.
time. But they're all asking right now. They're all thinking, okay, so they're younger. Is the point I was trying to make? They're probably most of the people listening right now probably are under 30, and they're wondering, okay, I'm gonna set up my office. You deal with all these practice management systems. Is any of them better than others?
Good question. And so I will share with you my thoughts from a database perspective and inner workings perspective. The top 3 or 4 are great. They're all equally good. Dentrix, for example, is an awesome practice management system, and so is EagleSoft, and so is SoftEnd and PracticeWorks. Although there isn't a lot of love that some of them have been getting more recently because of changes in the overall organizations. There are others like Open Dental, which actually have steadily, Jordan Sparks started Open Dental, and I have a lot of respect for open source movement, and that has steadily gained. There are cloud-based ones, right? Ascend is one from Henry Schein, and then there is a Curve Dental, which has been around for a while. The cloud-based ones have not received that much traction yet in the industry. In my opinion, if you ask me, point blank, straight, the ones which are using SQL server-based modern databases are pretty much all similar. Some of them have better marketing. Some of them have better integration with some of the sensors and all, but they have all become Coke and Pepsi right now.
Okay, I want to ask you another question, and this one might hurt a little bit. A lot of people look at these companies like you that give them all this numbers, and their first thought is, well, how do I even know that's a good number? I mean, the first thing they teach in MBA school is the number's wrong. The report you're reading ain't right. So they always teach you first challenge the number. So when they're looking at Practice Optimizer and you say this is their collection receivable over 90, how do they know that's a good number?
That's an excellent question, Howard. So I will answer it in the following way. You are absolutely correct. Don't believe the numbers until we prove it to you. So we actually do the data accuracy checks. We prove that the numbers are correct. We prove that the numbers match with the practice management system. Now, there are cases where the practice management system itself is calculating the numbers which may not be the correct way or the best way to calculate them. In that case, we show them, because we don't read reports off of the practice management system. We are looking at the data, right? So we put the data together in reports, and we compare the numbers, and we present data accuracy checks, and we have found that we are 100% matching. And that's the reason why we have, and I'll share a couple of statistics with you, 20,900 practices, 132,000 providers, 25 million patients, and 3 billion transactions a day are processing through our platform.
So you feel good about the quality of the numbers, the quality of the data?
You and I have been in the industry for a long time, right? So you have known me for at least 12 years, maybe more. And we are here to stay. We are not passers-by, right? So there are there are companies which will come as an imitation and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to build something which does whatever Sikka does. Actually, I'm flattered when I hear that, there are companies which do that. But we have been the original ones. We have
Yeah,
built this thing.
I know. Did your wife go to Buffalo Dental School?
No,
Because you're from Syracuse, right?
I actually am from Syracuse. I studied there, did my master's. So my wife worked with UOP and USCLA. So she took courses. She went through 4 years.
So how did you get from the far northeast Syracuse under a foot of snow? How did you find your wife clear on the other side of the country in San
Our,
Fran?
so I've lived here in the valley for 29 years, right? But two winters in Syracuse, I ran out of there. They gave me an opportunity to come work here and do my PhD work at Stanford, and I said, I'm not going back.
Wow. Hey, I think one of the biggest game changers in that demo that was shocking to me is, when I got out of school, when I got to dental school in '87, I thought I was so lucky because they were installing computers for the next class, and we were high-fiving each other that we got out of school before we had to deal with those stupid computers. And now you're having a patient texting the dentist with a picture of their daughter's wiggly tooth. Talk more about that. So
That
are you thinking about every dentist on their smartphone should be connected to their patients?
No, the way I look at it is just, how you can turn this thing on and off. You can look at it only when you are in the office. But what it does is it helps with patient retention. So to answer that question of yours, I'm actually going to go back very quick 1 second and tell you that millennials, which we were talking about earlier, 80% of internet traffic is video.
80% of video.
80%. And millennials are the biggest consumers of video. And they are also the biggest consumers of, and you and I know, right, the learning process have shifted. People who are baby boomers, 62% of baby boomers believe what the salesperson is telling them and what the advertisements are telling them. 80% of millennials rely on peer-to-peer communication and word of mouth. And so there is a huge difference in the way people consume information. So what you saw there was a HIPAA high-tech compliant, and that, my friend, is the most rare thing. There is no other company which can give you a video, asynchronous video and picture communication, which is HIPAA and high-tech compliant. And I mean it, not even Snapchat or one of those, WhatsApp or any of those apps, the ones which people use are HIPAA high-tech compliant. And so what we have been able to do is to help with patient retention using this. And it is asynchronous, so it doesn't interrupt you. You can look at it, you can talk to them only during your office hours. You can have your office manager talk to them. Because remember, anyone who logs on is with roles, they're logging in as an office manager and they can talk to the patients because they are connected to the practice and you have authorized them. And so this information, and I will share with you one specific thing which I know you have run into. You get a call from a patient, it's an emergency call during the weekend, and they say, hey, I'm looking for, I need Vicodin, right? And you are saying, is this my patient? Is this not my patient? Do I know them? Should I prescribe something? Should I not prescribe? This whole thing, having this in your palm of your hand is actually addressing it, because you can then ask this system the question that, is this my patient or not? And it will actually check and tell you if this is your patient or not.
That's interesting. Another thing that the smartphone and all that stuff is changes. When you and I were little, work and family were so separate. I mean, it was 8 to 5, then you go home, you disengage, family, you start up again. But with the smartphone, this blurred the lines. You see all your employees during the day texting their kids and families or FaceTiming them. So it's quality family time, the kids at school and has a question. And then it's the same thing after work at 5. They're still bouncing back into work mode. It's really blurred the lines, and I think millennials are doing it more, where there's really no clear-cut distinction between work and family. It's just kind of it's all blurred into one. Do you kind of see that?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we depend more on our smartphones than ever. So here's another interesting thing. We are living in an economy which is different from the economy that we grew up in. The economy that we are in now, look at Uber, right? It's apps, not browser. It's rent, not buy. It's the shared economy. And if you look at all of that together, you see that the mobile phones are right there in the middle of all that economy. And people are trusting mobile phones more. So there is this study, a neuroscience study. My son went to UC San Diego and did neuroscience. And the study says that if they take a slice of the brain, when you lose a mobile phone, the same area is impacted that is impacted when you lose a loved one. And it's incredible. I mean, we are connected so much with our mobile phones that it's just incredible. And what's happening is people are using mobile phones to communicate, to watch their house, for example. When they're away, they can get notified, they can do banking transactions, payments, you name it. And the way we have approached this whole thing, Howard, as you see, right, is we have said, well, we want to build one API which connects everyone. And once you build one API which connects everyone, then people can build apps on it. And we have not approached the human medical market, the one which is the physicians. So we are retail healthcare, which is dental and veterinary, optometry, and etc. So we have just taken the approach that we are going to provide an ability for people to connect using mobile phones with video, with location, and leverage all the good things that are coming because of the mobile phones and the innovation that is coming because of it. Right? I was talking to the phone and I was saying, show me my production, right? That kind of stuff you cannot imagine doing easily to your practice management system.
I'm friends with probably every person who's done in-office dental consulting for the last, who's done it more than 10, 20, 30 years. They always tell me that when they go into an office, 1 in 2 that they're being embezzled from. 1 in 2. And, you're calling up, I'm working hard, my overhead's high, I'm not making any money. So, it's a filtered crowd. But when their overhead's high and they're not making money and they're stretched, 50% of the time they find embezzlement. Do you think any of these tools that you're talking about could help a doctor catch for embezzlement?
The answer is an absolute yes. I will actually share with you something that happened today. I got an email from one of our customers who said, Vijay, you were speaking at that meeting. I heard you. We signed up for your service. And one of my team members, the customer success team members, she looked at the reports and she said to the doctor, now remember, we are not consultants, right? We share best practices. She just shared this report with the doctor and said, look, there is something interesting here. And then the doctor started to investigate and she brought in an embezzlement consultant. And sure enough, there was a problem that they were seeing. So I agree with you. I mean, even in my wife's practice, remember for 2 years I worked in my wife's office, right? Didn't get paid. I was her office manager. That's how I learned this industry. And I actually sat down and I saw, even then I was seeing that there were signs of it and we were able to understand what was going on because we were able to put good controls in place. But embezzlement is an issue with dental practices, not just dental practices, but also any small business healthcare. And these tools, the practice.
I want to ask another question. I'm banking online. I personally like Chase's software layout, user friendliness. To me, it's kind of more Apple-ish, easy. Bank of America just seems to be more kind of like Microsoft, harder. You know what I mean? But one thing those guys could do is if they were banking online, they could at least check their deposit on their smartphone and be able to see, wow, there was no cash deposited today. It was only, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
They don't try. Okay, we're over. We've gone over the hour. I just got one overtime question for you. It's the weirdest question in the world, but I really believe it. Tell me if I'm batshit crazy or if this is true. But, I'm 54. When I was little, I remember Claire Isabel standing in my front room with my whole family watching Neil Armstrong stand on the moon. And at that time in Kansas, at least a third of my friends still had a horse. In Kansas, Ryan's mom, she had a horse. Now I'm 54. They're on the next rock over. They're on Mars, and it ain't a human; it's a droid. The horses are gone, and now they're starting to get rid of the human driver. Right. And then I look at the universe that's 99.99999% inhospitable environment for a human. And we're even changing. To me, it seems like the sapien is just a 2 million year old animal that's going to connect biology to artificial intelligence. And probably, I'm thinking within 1,000 years, we'll probably be sitting in a zoo with all the other animals.
So, Howard, I will share my perspective on this with you. There is a lot of, there is Elon Musk, for example, has gone famous. He's been talking about how AI is going to, destroy humanity, etc. I will share my thought on this with you, and I've done a lot of thinking of what might happen. I feel that we need to connect and use AI as kind of our subconscious or spinal cord. When you're driving, how many times you're not using your brain, you're actually driving on your reflex action, right? I look at AI as human reflex action. I don't look at, and this is my personal view, but I don't look at AI as ever replacing human beings. I look at AI as adding to us and helping us do things where we continue the conscious motion, but then AI takes over the reflex action, things which are boring to us, things like driving a car, that's a spinal cord reflex action thing. So in my personal view, we will mesh more and more, we'll become smarter, we'll connect, like you were saying, 7 billion people are connected with data, right? With ones and zeros. I think this human beings for the first time have a common language. English is the most spoken language, a common database, right? We've got Google, and we've got a common connected internet, which is our network. I also think that human beings will actually use AI as a subconscious and continue our journey on to Mars and beyond. But that's the optimist in me speaking.
So you don't think the machines will win in the end?
No, I don't think so.
Well, that's good. You're more optimistic than me. But hey, seriously, dude, thank you for all that you've done for dentistry. Thank you for all that you've done, and thank you so much for taking an hour of your precious time to talk to my homies today.
Howard, it's a pleasure, and thanks. And you created something amazing, and thank you for what you have done.
Well, you said something about the millennials. They care more about their peers. Dental Town still subscribes 1,000 new members a month. And you're absolutely right. Millennials seem to lurk more than post.
Yeah.
But they want to know what the other dentists think of this 3M product. And not many of them care what 3M tells them about the product.
Absolutely.
They want to know what their peers think.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Thanks for all you do, buddy.